Okay, I hope you can see my screen. I'm going to solve, of course, the March 24 exam. I'll start immediately. Now, this exam was a little bit tricky, little bit. And I actually do expect your exam tomorrow to be tricky. Okay, which characteristic of living organisms is represented by gas exchange in the alveoli? Now, gas exchange, is it excretion or growth or nutrition or reproduction? What's the answer?
A.
Yes. Why is it A? Why did you choose A and not C?
Because extraction of carbon dioxide and
Correct.
inhalation
You are
of
very correct.
yeah.
Why is it not C? Because some students, they sent me this question and they told me, why is it not C? Why is it not nutrition? Their objective was we take in oxygen so that we can use it in respiration. Nutrition, okay, involves taking in food. You have to take food through the mouth. This is nutrition. But when we exchange gases, this is not nutrition. So it is A, you are correct. It is not C, because here we are excreting, like you said, CO2. Correct. So one is A. We need to understand every single question. Two, the diagram shows how Homo sapiens, modern people, could have evolved from earlier ancestors. You have Homo sapiens coming from Homo Heidelbergens and Homo erectus and Homo habilis. Okay, you can notice that the genus is the same, Homo, Homo, Homo. Now, a reminder, the genus is the first word that starts with a capital letter, and the species is the second word that starts with a small letter. Which statement about modern people and their ancestors is correct? They are the same species and the same genus. They are the same species, but not the same genus. They are the same genus, but not the same species. They are neither the same species nor the same genus. What's the answer? Now, this is easy.
C.
Yes, they are the same genus. How did we know? They are the same genus. Okay, the first word is the same. Which is the characteristic of both insects and arachnids? 8 legs, exoskeleton, only 3 pairs of legs and wings. Which is the answer?
Exoskeleton.
Of course. How many pairs of legs do insects have?
3.
3 pairs. And arachnids?
More than 5.
4 pairs, 8 legs.
4.
Okay, arachnids, like the spider. Arachnids, they have no antenna. Insects, they have an antenna. They're very different. And what's common between them is the exoskeleton. An animal can swim, has a backbone, and produces milk. Which group does this animal belong to?
Mammals.
Yes, correct. Why did you choose mammals? Even though fish, they have a backbone and they can swim. What
Because
made us
milk
choose?
production is exclusive to mammals.
Correct, perfect. Okay, in which cell structure does aerobic respiration occur? Now,
Mitochondria.
this is too easy.
Mitochondria.
Mitochondria, of course, mitochondria. Now, which formula? Now, okay, I have another question for you. Where in the cell does anaerobic respiration occur?
Cytoplasm. Cytoplasm.
Well done. Okay, which formula shows the correct way to calculate the actual size of an object? What is the formula that we know very well? Hmm?
B.
Yes, you are correct. It's B. The formula is I am, in case anyone is confused. Now, they want us to know the actual size. So this is our missing variable. So it's going to be the image over the magnification. Correct. What is the reason why oxygen diffuses into the blood from an alveolus in the lungs? The oxygen concentration in the alveolus is greater than the carbon dioxide concentration, or the oxygen concentration in the alveolus is greater than the oxygen concentration in the blood, or the oxygen concentration in the blood is greater than the oxygen concentration in the alveolus, or the oxygen concentration in the blood is greater than the CO2 concentration in the alveolus. Hmm? What's the answer? Can someone give me an answer? Why does the oxygen move into the blood from the
B.
alveolus into the blood? Yes, of course it's B. Correct. Okay. Now here, A is wrong because oxygen concentration in the alveolus is greater than the carbon dioxide concentration. We're talking about oxygen. Okay, we're not talking about carbon dioxide. They're asking about oxygen. So is A is wrong. C, the oxygen concentration in the blood is greater. Now, this is completely wrong because this is my alveoli surrounding by blood capillaries, and the oxygen is always moving from the alveoli into the capillaries. Why? Because they're moving down a concentration gradient from high to low. And the CO2 is always moving in the opposite direction so that it can be inhaled, it can be exhaled. So again, the CO2 is moving by diffusion down a concentration gradient from high, from the capillaries, to low into the alveoli. So it's B. Oxygen concentration is greater in the alveoli than in the blood. That's why it will move by diffusion down a concentration gradient. The diagram shows two plant cells, cell X and cell Y. Cell X has high water potential and cell Y has low water potential. Until this moment, some students get confused between the terms. Now, high water potential, simply speaking, translate water potential or replace it with high amount of water, or just remove potential. If word potential confuses you, just remove potential. High water. And cell Y, if I remove potential, it will be low water. So cell X has more water and cell Y has less water. It is as simple as that. Which statement describes what will happen to the water in the cells? Equal movement or net movement from cell X to cell Y, by osmosis, of course, or net movement from Y to X, or no movement? Very easy question. Up to now, very easy questions. What's the answer? Hello? Can I have an answer, please?
B.
Yes, the question does not need all this time. It's very easy. Net movement from cell X to cell Y. Of course, movement of water by osmosis from high water potential to low water potential. Which row describes active transport? Active transport. Substances move from a lower to a higher water to a higher concentration. Now, this column, right or wrong? From low to high or from high to low?
Low to high.
Low to high. So, is it yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So the answer is either C or D. It's not A and it's not B. So I will exclude A and I will exclude B. Requires energy from respiration. They are both yes. Of course, we know that active transport needs energy. Requires a protein carrier. Yes or no?
Yes.
Of course, so it's D. The first 20 questions, you have to get them correct. The first 20 questions are the easiest. Maybe from question 30 to 40, they can be a little bit tricky. So the first 20, make sure that you get the correct answer. Okay? Which row shows the elements that make up a carbohydrate? Now, the carbohydrate contains nitrogen?
No.
No. So the answer is either B or C. No or no. Now, does it have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So it's yes, 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 C. Okay. Large molecules are made from smaller molecules. Which row names the large molecule and the small molecule it is made from? Now, all these questions, mainly until now, around 4 or 5 questions, are highly repetitive. The large molecule, cellulose, and the small molecule, glucose, fat, glycogen, fatty acid, starch, amino acid. Now, what's the answer?
A.
Yes, of course. Fat is made up from fatty acid and glycerol. Glycogen is also a carbohydrate. It's made up of glucose, and starch is also a carbohydrate made of from glucose. The graph shows the effect of temperature on the activity of an enzyme. Now, we know this graph very well, and they pointed to part 1 on the graph and part 2 on the graph. Now, part 1 on the graph, is the enzyme denatured?
No.
No, it's not denatured. It's cold. So the enzymes here, they are working, but they are slow or fast?
Slow. Slow.
Slow. So they're working. So the substrate does enter the active site. They are denatured when the temperature is very high. They are denatured at 2. So this should be easy now. Which statements about the enzyme and the substrate at temperatures 1 and 2 are correct? Now, temperature 1, the active site fits into the substrate, or the enzyme and substrate have the same shape. The enzyme is denatured. The substrate fits into the active site of the enzyme. Now, tell me first, which one of them are wrong in temperature 1?
C.
The enzyme is denatured. Yes, C is wrong. What else is wrong? There's
B.
another. Yes, the enzyme and the substrate have the same shape. No, they don't have the same shape. They have complementary shapes. If this is the enzyme, then the substrate looks like this. They're not the same shape. They're complementary. They fit together, so they don't have the same shape. So the answer is either A or D. Now, again, one is more correct than the other. Which one? The active site fits into the substrate of the enzyme, or the
هتبقى D.
substrate. Yes, it's the substrate that fits into the active site. And we can be sure from the second column. Temperature 2, the active site changes shape so that the substrate cannot fit into it. This is the exact description of denaturing. So it's T. Okay? I hope question 12 is clear. Now, question 13 is so common. It comes in every multiple choice exam, this graph and the limiting factors. And you all keep on asking me. In an investigation, the rate of photosynthesis in a plant is measured at different temperatures. The investigation is carried out at 3 different light intensities, and the results are shown. So the temperature is on the x-axis, and the rate of the photosynthesis is on the y-axis. Now we have 2 parts in any graph. Let's look at x, and let's also label this part of the graph. Now, I'm going to ask another question altogether. At A, this part of the graph, when the graph is still increasing, what is the limiting factor?
No limiting factor.
What? At A, there is no limiting factor? I never heard this answer before.
لا سوري اتلخبطت.
Then what is the limiting factor at A in the part of the graph that is increasing? I am increasing the temperature. Of course, it's the temperature. Now, why did I say that the temperature is the limiting factor? Because at A, I am increasing the temperature. Don't you see that the temperature is increasing? It was 5, it became 10, it becomes 15. So I am increasing the temperature. As the temperature is increasing, the rate of photosynthesis is also increasing. So the temperature was the limiting factor. Here, if I'm talking about this part of the graph, the increasing part of the graph. Now, I'm no longer talking about the first part of the graph. I'm talking about the second part of the graph that is stationary. I am increasing the temperature. The temperature keeps on increasing, increasing, increasing. It was 20, 25, 30, 35. Even though I am increasing the temperature, the rate of photosynthesis does not change. So at X, is the temperature a limiting factor?
No.
No. Very good. Then something else must be a limiting factor. What is it?
Light intensity.
Of course. Why did you say light intensity? Because it was medium and then we increased it. So when we did increase the light intensity, look, the rate of photosynthesis increased. So at X, the temperature is not a limiting factor because we are increasing the temperature. But even though we are increasing the temperature, the rate of photosynthesis stays the same. What is then the limiting factor at X? It is the light intensity. I hope this is clear. So question 13, what is the limiting factor for the rate of photosynthesis at point X? Is it the temperature?
No.
No, it's not the temperature. So the answer is either A or C. Is it the light intensity?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the answer is C. And you have to understand the question really well. In plants, which ions are used to make amino acids? Magnesium, nitrates, phosphates, or potassium?
Nitrate.
Of course. Okay. Well done. Which structure is the cuticle? A or B or C or D?
A.
Of course, A. What is B?
البالاسايد mesophyll.
Yes, correct. What is C?
Spongy mesophyll. Spongy.
Spongy. Good. And what is D?
الإبيديرمس.
Very good. This is the lower epidermis. Well done. This is what if they label this cell for you.
guard cell.
Correct. What is this?
Tomato.
Well done. Okay, now let me use another label. What is this?
Air spaces.
Well done. Perfect. Okay, amazing. What is this?
ديت الليف سيل عادي اللي فيها كلوروبلاست.
Yes, it's the chloroplast. Good girl. Now, what is this?
الفاسكولار باندل.
Yes. What is exactly inside the vascular bundle? You have two here
exilum
tissues.
وأسفويم.
Yes, well done. This is the exilum. How do I know that this is the exilum? Because you see the walls are thick. Okay, good girls. Now, poor nutrition can lead to a condition called rickets in which bones fail to develop properly. The table shows some minerals and vitamins present in 4 foods. Which food would be best for a child who has rickets? He needs more calcium or
فيتامين
iron
دي
or vitamin D. Yes,
وكالسيوم.
well done. Vitamin D and calcium. So the answer is B. We want calcium and vitamin D. Iron and vitamin C are not important now. Which food group is chemically digested in the mouth, passes through the stomach, and continues to be broken down by chemical digestion in the small intestine? Carbs or
carbohydrates.
minerals? Carbohydrates. Correct. Why did you choose carbohydrates?
علشان السلايفا في المouth و it breaks down
Well
the
done, because
carbohydrates.
carbohydrates are the only food group that start digestion in the mouth chemically. Okay, which row about bile is correct? What is the organ that produces bile? Is it the gallbladder or the liver?
Liver.
Liver. So the answer is either C or D. The gallbladder, what is its function?
It stores.
emulsification.
It stores. It stores the bile. The bile is produced in the liver and it is stored in the gallbladder. Good girls. Now, the effect of this bile on fat droplet surface area, does it increase or decrease? So we would,
increase.
okay, so this is no, this is no. The answer is C or D. It will increase. Now we are narrowing down the answer. The process involved, is it chemical or physical digestion?
physical.
Physical. Easy. Easy only when you study well and you understand. Paper 2 asks about every single lesson. Every single lesson. There are 40 questions, at least one question per lesson. Because some students are sending me which lessons do I study and which lessons do I don't. You study everything, my dear. Core and supplement. The small intestine is where most digested foods are absorbed. The small intestine has many villi. These are some features of the villi. Each villus contains a network of capillaries. Each villus contains a lacteal. The surface of each epithelial cell is covered with microvilli. Villi increase the internal surface area of the small intestine. Which statements about the villi are important for the absorption of glucose? 1, 2, 3, and 4, all
B.
4 of them. Yes, you are correct. It's B. Now, why did you choose B? B means 1, 3, and 4. What is wrong with 2?
علشان lacteel is for fatty acids and cholesterol.
Excellent. Lacteals, they don't absorb glucose. They absorb fatty acids and glycerol. So, well done. Which statements about exilum vessels are correct? Exilum vessels cells have cross walls, or exilum vessels have thick walls with lignin. Exilum vessels transport water and mineral ions. Okay. Now, in a question like this, which one of them is wrong?
1.
One.
Yes, correct. One is wrong. Now, in case you did not understand what are the cross walls, we always drew the exilum like this as a hollow tube. The cross walls, they were supposed to be here. Here, there was supposed to be a wall to separate the cells, but there is no wall. This wall has been removed. This cross wall has been removed so that I create a hollow column. Okay, so the answer is 2 and 3. Good girl. So what is 20? C. Well done. First 20. The first 20, we cannot do, I don't want you to do mistakes in the first 20. Even in the next 10, don't do any mistakes. Now, dodder is a plant. This question was in another exam. Dodder is a plant that grows on other plants called hosts. The dodder plant connects to the host's vascular bundles. The dodder plant does not have green leaves or roots. Now, when they tell you that this plant does not have green leaves, this means, does this plant do photosynthesis?
No.
No.
No. Okay, this is a rare type of plant that feeds off other plants. Okay, what correctly describes the regions for translocation? Now, going back to this sentence, Now, when this plant does not do photosynthesis, can this plant ever be a source?
يبقى C.
Yes, good. You are correct. The daughter is a sink. It's always a sink. It can never be a source because it cannot do photosynthesis. It is always a sink. It is always taking. And who is the source? The host plant. Correct. The diagram shows part of the human circulatory system. Which structure is the hepatic vein? Now, the vein is an arrow going towards the organ or away from the organ.
Towards.
Away. Good girl. Now, this is our liver, and we have two arrows moving. This is very obvious. Just one arrow moving away from the organ. What is it? B or D?
D.
D. Good girl. What is B?
Hepatic portal vein.
Yes. Well done. What is a feature of passive immunity? Antibodies are acquired from another individual, or it can be gained through infection with a pathogen. Long-term protection is gained. Memory cells are produced. Easy if you studied immunity. What is taking
B.
you so long?
B.
Who said B? Selma, I will kill you.
خلاص خلاص.
Passive immunity, it can be gained through infection with a pathogen. If you are infected with the real disease, what type of immunity is this, my dear?
Act.
Active, of course. This is natural active. Okay, but passive immunity, I will take ready-made antibodies from my mother, from the emergency room because I was bitten by a dog. So it's A, my dear, okay? And of course, it does not give you long-term protection and memory cells are not produced. Good? Now, the graph shows the change in the rate of breathing of an athlete. Now, what shows in Y? Of course, that the rate of breathing increased. What causes the response during time period Y? Why does the rate of breathing increase? There is a decrease in the concentration of oxygen, or a decrease in the concentration of urea, or an increase in the concentration of CO2, or an increase in the concentration of red blood cells. What is the answer to 24?
A.
No, no, it's not A. I was sure that someone will get confused. My dear, it is not A. Why? Because there is a certain level of oxygen in the body. When you started exercise, the oxygen did not decrease. You just need more. You have, let's say, 70% of oxygen in your body. And this is you. Of course, you are much more prettier than this. And you started exercising on the treadmill. Does the oxygen level drop? It doesn't drop. It doesn't fall. It doesn't become 40%. No, I just need more now because I'm exercising. Okay, so it is not A. It is C. Okay, it is C. Why? Because when you start to respire more, you will produce more CO2. Who will detect the high levels of the CO2?
Brain.
The brain, very good. And then the brain will take action. The brain will increase the rate of breathing to get rid of this excess CO2 and replace it with oxygen. So the oxygen levels in your body, they don't drop. If they drop, this is a big problem. When you start exercising, you need more oxygen. My oxygen levels, they never drop. Okay, so it is not A. Do you understand, Selma, why it is not A, my dear?
Yes.
Good, very good. These are processes that occur in plants: active transport, cell division, osmosis, and transpiration. Which processes use energy from transpiration?
B.
No, transpiration.
Sorry,
Which
A.
processes transpire? No, it's not. It's A. Okay, see, you always get confused in the last 20. So please focus on the last 20. Read the question 2 times. Transpiration, my dearest, involves evaporation of water from the surface of the mesophyll cells, followed by diffusion. Evaporation and diffusion, these two processes, they need no energy. No energy is required. Okay? It's active transport that needs energy and cell division that needs energy. So it's A. You want to make sure this is the mark scheme. 25A. Okay? What is the balanced equation for anaerobic respiration in yeast? Now, this depends on how well you studied. What's the answer?
B.
Yes. Which labeled organ has a major role in the assimilation of amino acids by converting them to proteins? One of the functions of this organ is assimilation of amino acids. B or C or A or D? Hello?
A.
What did you say?
A.
Yes, A. Well done. What is organ B? The lung. Of course, the lung, it has nothing to do with amino acids. What is organ C?
Kidney.
The kidney. The kidney, of course, does not change the amino acids into protein. What is organ D?
Gallbladder.
This is not the gallbladder. This is just the bladder, okay, that releases urine. So it's got nothing to do with amino acids. A is the liver. One of the functions of the liver is that it handles the excess carbohydrates and the excess amino acids. Excess amino acids, excess. I'm talking about excess. Excess amino acids, they are deaminated. I'm not talking about the excess here. I'm talking about the amino acids that we need. These amino acids are converted into proteins and they become part of the cell. This is an example of assimilation. The liver has lots of functions. One of the functions, or two of the functions, is handling proteins and amino acids. The excess are deaminated. We remove the nitrogen containing part, and the needed amino acids are converted into proteins. Clear? 28. A toxin that is the same shape as a neurotransmitter prevents muscle contraction. Which statement explains why the toxin prevents muscle contraction? The toxin blocks the binding of the neurotransmitters to receptors on motor neurons. The toxin increases the release of neurotransmitters. The toxin increases the release of neurotransmitters from sensory neurons, or the toxin stimulates impulses in motor neurons. What's the correct answer for 28?
A.
Yes, correct. Now, if I want to translate the question into a picture, this toxin has the same shape as a neurotransmitter. We know that what's this? We know that the synapse looks something like that. Wait. This is the presynaptic neuron, and this is the postsynaptic neuron. And I have here receptors. Now the vesicles will release the neurotransmitters that will bind with the receptors. I have a toxin here, let me change color, that has exactly the same shape as the neurotransmitter. So the toxin will bind with the receptor instead of the neurotransmitter, preventing the real neurotransmitter to bind to the receptor. So it's A. Which labeled part refracts light entering the eye? Which letter will cause a refraction of the light entering the eye?
D.
Well done, D. Why did you not choose? Okay. What if there was a line pointing at this structure? What is this structure? Let me call it X.
Lens.
The lens. Doesn't the lens also refract the light?
No, it
بس
focuses
the light already entered the eye.
Well done, Selma. Perfect. The light will be refracted in two structures inside the eye. When it enters, it will be refracted at the cornea, and most of the refraction actually happens at the cornea, and then it will reach the lens and it will refract some more so that it is focused on the fovea, so that we see clearly. So it does refract two times, but most of the refraction is in the cornea, D, when it enters the eye. Well done. 30. Which graph shows the expected changes to pulse rate and blood glucose concentration when you are injected with adrenaline? What does the adrenaline hormone do to your pulse rate and glucose and blood glucose? Increase.
يبقى
So what's the
C.
answer? Well done. Good girl. Let me just read color. Yes, C, because they will both increase. The diagram shows the root and shoot of a seedling responding to gravity. Which row shows where the oxygen accumulates and the effect of this in the root? Where does it accumulate? The oxygen.
lower C.
On the lower surface. Well done. Now, this question, it has nothing to do with how, with understanding. You have to memorize this part. You have to know it really well. We know that the oxen hates the sun and it always accumulates in shaded areas and in areas where there is gravity. So it will accumulate in the lower part here and here. But the response is different in a root and in a shoot. Okay, they're talking about the shoot. So we will look here. What does it do to this part? It accumulates in the lower part. So we agree it accumulates in the lower part. It will cause more cell elongation or it will inhibit the cell elongation.
Promote cell elongation.
Yes, well done. Okay. Which factors would increase the chance of antibiotic resistance developing? Regularly giving antibiotics to healthy livestock, only using antibiotics to treat bacterial infections, using several different antibiotics to treat an infection, using good personal hygiene to avoid infection. Read the
B.
question carefully. What will cause an increase in resistance? What did you
B.
say?
B.
B, 1 and 3. 1 and 3. Yes. If I give antibiotics to healthy livestock, I will increase resistance. If I use so many different types of antibiotics, I have an infection, take all the antibiotics in the cupboard, yes, I will increase resistance. I only need to take one. What is an advantage of using asexual reproduction in crop plants? It can reliably produce many crop plants with a desirable characteristic. It increases genetic variation. It only requires wind pollination. It reduces the chance of a new disease spreading through all the crop plants. What's the answer for question
A.
33? What?
A.
Yes, correct. It's A. Now, why is it not C?
علشان it's not wind pollination.
Then what is it?
Cross pollination من the same plant.
I will kill you again for the second time.
خلاص.
It's no pollination, habibti. This is asexual reproduction. Pollination, whether wind or insect pollination, is not asexual reproduction. It is sexual.
Okay, okay.
Okay, okay, my dear. Okay, because they can get you the same question, but change the wording. You can get confused. So this is asexual reproduction. Asexual. Pollination is sexual. Pollination is sexual. Okay? Now, again, hormones, they always ask about hormones. Now, which in those two graphs is the follicle stimulating hormone?
B.
Yes, you are correct. It is B. But we will not stop here. What is A?
LH.
Yes. Why is it LH?
علشان it is at the
Increase
highest
during ovulation.
I did not hear you.
it is at the highest percentage for ovulation.
Okay, now look at C. Also, it is at its peak at the time of ovulation. Why didn't you tell me that C is LH? C is not LH.
علشان
You
في
correct?
برضه في بعد 14 بعد الأوفيليشن.
You are correct. Okay. C is the which hormone? You tell me.
Progesterone. E.
Yes. C is the estrogen. And what is D?
Progesterone.
Progesterone. Now, D or the progesterone is very, very easy to identify because it only increases after ovulation. So look at D. Graph D, it is low, 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 low. After ovulation, it starts to increase and then it will drop again depending on whether fertilization was successful or not. So D is very easy to identify. Now, A, why is it the luteinizing hormone? Because it peaks at ovulation. Good. But look at A before ovulation. It was very, very low and it increased suddenly. Did you see this sudden increase? This sudden increase tells me that this is the luteinizing hormone that has been released from the brain. Now, see, why is it the estrogen hormone? Because of two reasons. You said one of them, Selma, because there is a small increase before ovulation. Look here, this estrogen hormone, it is produced from the growing follicle. As the follicle is growing, it produces estrogen. That is why there is an increase in the estrogen hormone before ovulation. And then when the estrogen peaks, This will tell the brain to release luteinizing hormone. After ovulation, also, it fluctuates, increases and decreases because estrogen has always to remain in the body of a female. It's important for maintaining the thickness of the uterus and for her secondary sexual characteristics. Now, B is the follicle stimulating hormone. Let me erase what I have here because why is B the follicle stimulating hormone? I wanted to look at the beginning of the graph because they can ask you about any hormone. Why is B the follicle stimulating hormone? Look at the beginning of the graph. This is the hormone that starts to increase at the beginning of the flow phase. If you remember the flow phase in which the female starts getting her menstrual cycle, the follicle stimulating hormone starts to become produced by the brain so that we start production of a new follicle. And as the follicle is growing, it produces estrogen. And when the estrogen reaches peak levels, there is a sudden increase in the luteinizing hormone. Ovulation happens. And after ovulation, I have the progesterone hormone. So this graph, is it clear? Because they can ask you about any hormone of the four. Clear? If you are looking or they ask you about the follicle stimulating hormone, look at the graph from the very beginning of the menstrual cycle. This small increase shows that this is the follicle stimulating hormone. And it is not at its peak during ovulation. The hormones that are at their peak during ovulation are two, luteinizing hormones and estrogen. Okay? And the estrogen usually its peak is just before the ovulation. Is what I said clear?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, please ask me. Now, the table shows information about two tissue samples, X and Y. There is something called a mitotic index. It is the percentage of cells in the tissue that are dividing by mitosis. And the table shows the information. Now, how do you calculate the percentage? This is a tissue sample, X and Y, and you have some information. The number of the cells that are dividing by mitosis, the number of cells that are not dividing, and the total number of cells. How can I get the mitotic index for X and Y? How do I calculate the percentage?
Dividing by mitosis divided by the total.
Okay, can you give me numbers? Can please one person speak so I can hear you?
مش المفروض يا مس نعمل 25 over 80 times 100 عشان
Well
نلاقي
done.
أيوة.
Yes, you're right. Okay. The answer is, let me do it. 25 divided by 80 times 100. This is 31.25%. And then why the same scenario? I will not use this number. I don't need it. 15 divided by 110 times 100. So let me do it. 15 divided by 110 equals, this is going to be 13.6%. So the mitotic index for X is 31.25. The mitotic index for Y is 13.6. Now, which statement is correct? Tissue X is growing faster with a mitotic index of 31.3. It's correct. A is right. B, tissue X is growing fastest with a mitotic index of 45.4. No. Tissue Y is growing fastest with a mitotic index of 13.6. It is 13.6, but it is less than tissue X, so it's wrong. Tissue Y is growing fastest with a mitotic index of 15.8. Wrong. The answer is A. They want to test if you know how to calculate percentage or not. Any questions over 35?
No.
Okay, we have 5 more to go. Fruit flies can either have red eyes or white eyes. This is the sex-linked characteristic with the gene for eye color located on the X chromosome. Allele for red is dominant over the allele for white. It's R small. A fruit fly with the genotype R capital R small was crossed with a fruit fly with the genotype R capital. Which percentage of the offspring will have red eyes? Now, can I answer this question just by using my imagination? What do I do in any inheritance question? Punnett square. So I don't get confused. This is sex-linked. So what are the chromosomes that I will use? XX and XY, and they already gave you the genotype of the parents. So I will simply get a small pencil and I will do it. I don't want any confusion. Let me change color. I'll use purple. I have here the nice female, R capital, RY. She's a carrier. My male, R capital, and the Y, I leave it empty. This is a daughter with red eyes. And this is another daughter that is a carrier, but she has also red eyes. And this is a male that has red eyes. And this is a male that has what? White eyes. So what is the percentage of the offspring that will have red eyes? How many out of the 4 will have red eyes of all the offspring?
تبقى 75%.
Hmm?
هتبقى C يا مس.
Hello? I was speaking to myself all this time. Can you hear me? What is question 36?
C.
C.
C. Yes. Now, sometimes they can get you the question in a different format. They can tell you, how many girls will have red eyes? How many girls do I have in the Punnett square?
2 girls.
2 girls. Okay. How many will have red?
2.
2. So 100%. You understand? How many from the boys will have red eyes? How many boys in total do I have?
2.
2. And how many of the 2 will have red eyes?
1.
1. So it's going to be 1 out of 2. So pay attention to the question. Which statement about variation is correct? ABO blood groups show continuous variation. Is A correct?
No.
Wrong.
No. B. Body mass shows discontinuous variation. Is B correct?
No.
No. Seed color in peas shows continuous variation. Is C correct?
Yes.
No. C is not correct. I sent you on the WhatsApp that the seed color in your notes, it is written that it shows discontinuous variation. It is just something that you have to memorize. Seed color in peas are either green or brown. Okay? So they do not show continuous variation. Seed shape in peas, they show discontinuous variation. Yes.
Yes.
37D. Now, where is this part written? I'll show you. It's written in your year 9 notes. Where is this? 1 minute. Okay, these are your year 9 notes. Control F, peas. Okay, it's written here. Yes. On page 238, discontinuous variation, let's read together. Discontinuous variation results in a limited number of phenotypes with no intermediates. Examples: blood groups, seed shape in peas, and seed color in peas, in bold. Okay? So seed shape is discontinuous. Seed color is discontinuous. It's just a fact that you have to memorize. Clear? Where is the exam? Where did it go? Number 37. I will highlight it. 38. Which row shows part of the nitrogen cycle? Name of process, decomposition, chemical changed, ammonium ions into protein. Is A correct? Is A correct? Is decomposition converting ammonium ions into protein?
No.
No. Decomposition here, the proteins will be digested or broken down into amino acids. B, denitrification, nitrate ions into ammonium ions. Is B correct?
No.
No. What is denitrification then? If it is not right.
Ammonium nitrate. The nitrogen. Okay.
Yes, you are right. The nitrate ions in the soil, they will change. No, you're not right. The nitrogen ions in the soil, they will change into nitrogen gas in the air. They'll go back to the air. This is denitrification. What is nitrogen fixation? Nitrate ions will change to nitrogen gas. This is denitrification. Is this nitrogen fixation? No, it's the opposite actually. Nitrogen fixation, I have nitrogen gas in the air and I will fix it. I will trap it and I will convert it into nitrate ions in the soil. Nitrification, ammonium ions into nitrate ions. Is D correct?
Yes.
Yes. Now let's quickly remind ourselves what happens when we have decomposition in the soil. Any dead organic matter or decomposition will release proteins. These proteins will be digested and we will remove, these proteins will be digested into amino acids. And then we will remove the nitrogen containing part. This is called deamination. When we remove the nitrogen containing part. When we remove the nitrogen containing part, we will create ammonium compounds or ammonification. These ammonium compounds will finally change into what? Nitrates, nitrification. These nitrates will be absorbed by the plants, and when they are absorbed by the plants to become part of the plant, this is called what? Remind me, I forgot. When the nitrate enters the plant and becomes part of the plant, this is called a give me
Simulation.
an answer. Assimilation. Yes. The nitrogen cycle is very important and they can ask about any part of the cycle. So quick revision, quick revision. First, I have decomposition. Any dead body, any waste product, feces, urine, it will be broken down. It will be decomposed. The proteins in the dead body or the organic matter will change into amino acids. And then I will remove the nitrogen from the amino acid. Removing the nitrogen containing part is called what? Remind me.
Deamination.
Deamination. When I remove the nitrogen containing part, I will create ammonium compounds. Creating ammonium compounds is called what? Just give me the name. The making of ammonium compounds is called what?
Modification.
Ammonification. The name speaks for itself. Ammonification. Because I will create ammonium compounds. These ammonium compounds, they will not stay this way. They will finally change into nitrates. Now, the changing of ammonium compounds into nitrates, this step is called what? Nit.
Nitrification.
Well done. Nitrification. From the name, nitrification, I am making nitrates. These nitrates will be absorbed by active transport into the plant to become part of the plant. This is assimilation. Okay? When the nitrates in the soil become or go back to the nitrogen gas in the air, what is this step called?
Denitrification.
Denitrification. Denitrification. Very good. Okay. Now, I want to go back to my exam. Where is my exam? But I would like to take a screenshot of this. I don't know what to do now. Later. Okay, this is your exam. Now, the last two questions. This is what I was telling you about. In vitro fertilization. is used in captive breeding programs. These processes occur. The cell is fertilized, the egg is removed from the ovary, an embryo is implanted into the uterus, the sperm cells are added. In which order do these processes occur? What is the first step and what is the last step? 39. What's the answer?
B.
It's correct. You are correct. It's B. First, we will remove the egg from the ovary, and then we will add the sperms. And when the egg and the sperms are added together, the cell will become fertilized. We will create an embryo, and this embryo is then implanted into the uterus. So it's B. Please go revise IVF. It did not come in paper 4, so it will come in paper 2. The last question. Which cell structure is useful in genetic modification? A, B, C, or D?
D.
D.
Yes. What is A, in case they ask you?
Cell wall.
This is the cell wall of the bacteria. What is it made up of?
Chitin.
What?
Peptide.
Peptidoglycan, murine or peptidoglycan. Someone said in the background chitin. Chitin is in the fungus, my dear.
Fungus, yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
What is B?
Cell membrane.
Cell membrane. Well done. What is C? The only organelle found in bacteria.
Ribosome.
Ribosomes. Well done. Amazing. Outstanding. Okay. So this exam was a little bit tricky. If you noticed, again, the first 20 questions are easy and the last 10 questions are always negotiable. Please understand the graph that includes the hormones and the question over sex-linked diseases. There is a different answer depending on the question. If they're asking about all the offspring or only girls or only boys. And in vitro fertilization, this was new to me. This is not removed from the syllabus. It's not common that they ask you about it. And they did. So they can ask you about the artificial insemination next time. Good. And what else? And the auxins, they always ask you about. There's always a question about auxins. What else? What else? I think the rest was very easy. The last 10 only, they were a little bit confusing. Okay, let's answer another exam. Or you will solve on your own. Hello? Where did you go? You ran away? I will randomly choose another exam. So we solved 2 exams today. Why don't I get it?
Doctor كده.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay. You continue solving on your own. And if you have any questions, send me. Fine?
Okay.
Okay.